Whatever I say about this week's episode of NXT, at least it's not Raw Underground. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your August 5th NXT review. And I don't... It's very rarely that I'm at a loss for words. I don't know where to start this week other than call-up rumors. If you're an NXT fan, and yes, I know at this point you're basically a pariah if you're an NXT fan, but here I am, the unapologetic NXT fan. What you come to dread is the call-up to the main roster. They do the draft, they do the shake-up, they do, hey, there's no ratings on Raw or SmackDown, so we'll just bring up somebody from NXT. And in the past 24 hours, the rumors that I have heard about the talent that we might lose in NXT is absolutely terrifying. So I'm going to go through a couple of rumors here about potential call-ups that I've heard about, and I don't ask, or I'm not going to ask, I don't really hop on the hashtag trend that much, the hashtag train that much, but if you don't believe that a hashtag, something resembling hashtag no more call-ups is something that needs to be out there, I really don't know what to say. Now, what can we say about Raw? I made the joke about Raw Underground in my opener. That has me morbidly curious, actually, but the rest of the show, Montez Ford got poisoned so that his wife can finally have something to do on television. Unfortunately, she's going to be jobbing out. She's going to be jobbing out Zelina Vega, which is unfortunate. And you've got this group, and I want to be very careful because I don't want to put a label on it in real life, because especially with WWE being based in the States and the current social situation in the States, being very careful with my words because my opinions get me in trouble, to have a group of people show up to the show and fuck with the show is nothing new, but to have people show up with covered faces in the parking lot throwing Molotov cocktails in a very riotous manner, it's a bad look. I mean, I'm the last person to go SJW and be like, oh, that's offensive, that's you shouldn't be doing that. But unless you've got something stellar in mind, I really don't know what they're doing with this. But I've heard two different rumors about who this group is. First rumor is that this is how they're calling up the Undisputed Era. And if this is how they're calling up the Undisputed Era, there's no hope. There's no hope at all. If this is how they call up guys like Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, to dress up like WWE's version of protesters, throwing Molotov cocktails, etc., that's a step too far. That's where you just go like, okay, WWE main roster is now, they're not waiting till you come up to WWE, they're just poisoning the whole idea of NXT in general. Now the other rumor, because, you know, people do Zoom and Enhance because they don't have anything else to do all day. I've been at work, but a lot of people have been doing the old Zoom and Enhance thing, and it looks like one of these is definitely a female. So you have to go to the other rumor, which is just as bad, and that is that it's Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Candice LeRae, which would be bad enough in its own right, but apparently this group would be led by Dominik Dijakovic. Now, you don't have to go back to what I think of Dijakovic. I think he's probably a decent enough guy. He's athletic as hell. Never gave me a reason to care. Why would Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae follow Dijak of all? Look at the respective resumes of well, not so much Candice LeRae because she's never held a title. That's kind of shit. But look at the members of DIY, the multiple title holders, etc. Gargano being a Grand Slam guy and whatever, and the fact that 2 of them are heel and 1 of them are face right now. And if you want to put them in a Riot group, your opinion of whether that group is face or heel is going to go with what your opinion is of certain social and political things that are going on at the moment. Here's the thing where you could have kept it simple. If this is the case, if you want to bring DIY up to the main roster, I mean, I'll cry, because they're NXT through and through. But if you want to bring them up to the main roster, okay, I could learn to deal with that. If you want to bring them up and just package off Candice LeRae as their manager, that's fine too. You could have interesting scenarios there. It's a little cookie cutter. It's a little Street Profits. But them as a package could still be good. Why would they follow Dominik Dijakovic? If this is true, this is almost more offensive than the Undisputed Era situation, possibility, example, rumor, whatever you want to call it. I hope it's neither of these. I hope it's the much more simple version of they're getting like Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and all those people together, which is also sad, but they're already dead on the main roster. Let's be real. I mean, throw Apollo Crews in there. He's dead, even though he's a champion. So just throw them all in there with Ali. It'll be fine. I don't know who the chick is going to be. I don't know, Naomi. She's going to be drafted over from SmackDown. That's terrible. Speaking of SmackDown, what do they do on SmackDown when they've got a heel? They get a heel, and they throw 2 other heaters in there with them. You have, Cesaro and Nakamura have been heaters for people. You got Rude and Ziggler who have been heaters for people. Apparently, and again, my brain hurts a little bit. This makes my brain ache. Baron Corbin, who just got a sidekick in Shorty G, which I actually relatively found amusing. We could go with that. Like, heel Chad Gable could be fun. But apparently, they're randomly bringing up Danny Burch and Killian Dane to the main roster to be lackeys for Baron Corbin. Now, Baron Corbin, when he was in NXT, was the NXT guy that didn't want to be there. Actually made fun of all the indie cred of all the guys that he faced. It was kind of a cool thing. Why, even in kayfabe, would he look to NXT for backup? Why, if you were going to put a pair with him that includes Burch, why wouldn't you just do Lorcan and Burch? I still don't want to see them with Corbin. It's much like the Dijak situation, but that's a team that already exists. And Killian Dane, you've already proven that you cannot do anything with on the main roster. This is why, Alexander Wolf went to NXT UK back when that existed. This is why Eric Young is back in Impact now, beating the fuck out of Rich Swann and making me smile just a little bit. But the potential here, look at the talent involved in here. I mean, I know Killian Dane's not everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. I like Killian Dane. Look at Killian Dane. Look at the team of Lorcan and Burch, who have never had a chance to hold tag team gold in NXT. Look at Gargano, Ciampa, Candice, and to a lesser extent, Dominik Dijakovic. Look at the fucking Undisputed Era and look at the slots that they're potentially going into. If you've ever taken a suggestion from me in your lives, please share this video with the hashtag no more call-ups, because something has to change, and we're setting buildings on fire on the main roster. We're putting out people's eyes, and we're doing really bad Fight Club shit. Also, the Raw Underground thing might already be over because apparently USA saw the girls dancing in the background, and that was just too much for them. So what does that say about them? But this is terrible, and this is not the way I want to start an NXT review. But as I say, these are the rumors. These are the rumors. This is the Gargano and Ciampa are all right, but they need a big guy leading them because leaders need to be big guys, and Vince is sitting in the back saying it's such good shit. Undisputed Era are already a disruptive force. They've proved themselves multiple years as the disrupting force on NXT. They've proven what they can do on their own. What are you going to do on the main roster? You're going to make them terrorists. Hey, Burch and Dane is just a weird combination that they're not going to do anything with, and then Corbin will get some more backup and they'll go back to NXT. I would love to see Chad Gable back in NXT. We need to be doing this shit the other way. None of this is good. None of this is good, and none of this has anything to do with the review, but none of this is good. I haven't done anything, I haven't done anything talking about the main roster in a long, long, long time. But, my God. Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Dominic Dijakovic, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Candice LeRae, Danny Burch, and Killian Dane might all be sucked out of NXT, if any of this is true. Even if none of this is true, the whole interferer Molotov cocktail crew there on Raw was terrible. It'll be twice as bad if they suck people we like into it. And, yeah, that's my little ramble on that. I wasn't here last week, life caught up with me once again, work kicked my ass once again, and there was a lot of functional shit that happened last week. We're going to talk about that. It wasn't an episode that I was sad that I missed, or that I missed talking about, because everything's functional, but everything's functional towards TakeOver 30, and TakeOver 30 is shaping up to be pretty awesome and pretty unique in its own right, as we'll get to tonight. But I mean, Shirai and Nox defeating Candice LeRae and Dakota Kai, that's a nice, neat little thing, and this is going to sound like a weird thing for me to say. It showed their women's mid-card, even though you had the champion in there, because Tegan Nox would love a shot eventually, I'm sure. Candice LeRae would like a title shot eventually, I'm sure. Gargano defeated Strong, which was just, that was just your wrestlers match of the night, and it was great, and Strong had better things to do later in the night. Mercedes Martinez debuted and destroyed my girl Shotzi, which is kind of sad, but it feeds into the whole Robert Stone brand thing, because you got her and you've got Aaliyah, and they're taking out their frustrations through Mercedes Martinez on the people that were fucking with them when they were just jobbers, which is fine. Keith Lee calls out Karrion Kross because of what happened 2 weeks ago with Dijak, and he has this little like swat away the fly moment with Cameron Grimes, which leads into the match we're gonna have tonight. Got to talk about the Adam Cole and Pat McAfee stuff. I saw the clip going around on his show, and it's one of those things that I wish I was a couple years younger. I would love to have that split second of, gee, I wonder if this is real or not. Clearly it's not. Clearly it's a work, but it's a good work, and we're definitely going to talk about that later on. But the thing on the show, the fact that they brought in Triple H afterwards to interview him about the incident, the fact that they've been, apologizing to each other back and forth, being very professional on social media and all that sort of thing. It's a work. You're not going to get a wrestling fan in this day and age to know that it's not a work. It's weirdly intriguing, and especially after what happened tonight. But it's a weirdly intriguing thing. I like Pat Mc. I've decided after tonight I want Pat McAfee on commentary because it's fucking great. We had the 4-on-2 beatdown of Undisputed Era beating up Imperium, which is cool. It's cool on a lot of levels because they just lost all their gold. You have to believe that they're sitting there in the back, reevaluating things or whatever, and you get this face-to-face thing with Pat McAfee poking his fun at Adam Cole. So to see a much more serious, much more dangerous Undisputed Era, not dangerous like if they're the ones on Monday Night Raw, please just take it out of my head. But these guys are great. These guys are sarcastic. These guys are really, really get under your skin guys, but it's also kind of cool to see them a little bit pissed off. Really nice match between Isaiah Swerve Scott and Jake Atlas, but it is just a furtherance at this point to get Swerve towards the Cruiserweight Championship and Santos Escobar, which is a name that people are still upset about, and people are still tangentially associating that new gimmick change with Drake Maverick for some reason, because they're mad that Drake Maverick has a job. Weird. Dexter Lumis defeated Finn Balor and Timothy Thatcher to join the TakeOver ladder match, which then immediately became irrelevant because he fucked up his ankle in the match, as we're going to talk about tonight. So, that's all last week. Made a promise to myself that I was going to, ridiculously and obnoxiously plug my social this week because I haven't done it in a while in a proper way. I mentioned it off the cuff here and there. But some of the other places I am on social media, obviously, if you're listening to this right now in a podcast form, you want to find me on YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix. If you're watching me right now, pretty sexy face in the gimmick hat, you want to find the audio version of this, go to any of your podcasting platforms, the Stitcher, the iTunes, etc. Search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. Find me on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix1. Find me on Instagram at Spaz Phoenix. Look up the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group. And not only did we not do an NXT review last week, we also didn't get around to doing the next episode of Flicks Fix with myself and Kristen. Schedules got in the way. It is what it is. Episodes of Flicks Fix happen when we are both available and when the schedule permits. There is some stuff. We were going to do some Comic-Con stuff. And then I looked at the Comic-Con at home thing, and there was very little that actually got my attention that inspired me to want to talk about it, to be quite frankly. There's a couple odds and ends that we've turned into a really cool podcast topic. As I always say, hoping to get that out of the way this weekend, and then further on from there, we are going to do the Joker trilogy that I've told you guys about before. So please tune in for that. Time frame, I'm going to stop saying, hey, it's coming out next week, because obviously life gets in the way. The world is terrible right now. Some countries are tearing each other apart. Everybody's still got COVID. Other countries, unfortunately, and I'm not making a joke out of this, are being leveled by explosions. So the last thing that anybody should be worried about is Kristen and myself not getting a Flicks Fix episode out on time. But we do have ideas in the works. We do have some movie reviews coming out. We do have some more topical, conversational type stuff. As far as Marvel and DC, when Marvel has their panel at D23, whenever that is, when DC has their DC Fandom, if and when those two things happen, when the topical things come out, we will be talking about that as well. I'm sure there's going to be more Marvel Phase 4, Phase 5 stuff, and I'm sure there's a bug on my desk. That's awesome. And I'm sure DC is going to try and salvage their cinematic universe in one way or another. Aren't we all excited about the Snyder Cut? Oh, yes. That's for you, Julian, if you're watching. Cool. Let's get into this week's show now that I've rambled for 15 minutes about things that are not this week's show. We see a quick video package on all of last week's stuff, and it's interrupted by Undisputed Era, who say they're going to get back on track tonight, and that's just what they do. I like the video pack to start the show that NXT, it's becoming formulaic, but it's a formula that I like, so I don't mind it being formulaic. And then when it is something to do with the Undisputed Era, they always do that little, like, their own cut-in at the end, and that's, let's just let NXT be NXT, but, like, make sure you pay attention to our shit. I like it. It's good. Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai to kick off the show is really, really good. Rhea Ripley, Dakota Kai, talking to people on social media before this week's episode of NXT, and there was all kinds of surveys, and it's like, who do you want to be the number one contender? Who do you want to take on Io Shirai at TakeOver 30? Completely torn on this, because I fucking love Rhea Ripley, as you guys know if you haven't been living under a rock. Rhea Ripley, fucking star. I want to see her versus Io Shirai. I want to see her get the title back, but I'm intrigued by the combination of Io Shirai and Dakota Kai. Not only because of the character study that is going to develop between the two of them, but also it's just a match we haven't seen. It's not a match we've seen on a pay-per-view stage anyway. And I still go back to TakeOver Portland. TakeOver Portland was the last NXT TakeOver that our good friend and co-host Jake DeMarco was up here to talk to me about when we were previewing it, and we wish him well. He's still dealing with his stuff, so I'm sure you guys will all join me in saying all the thoughts and prayers and well wishes and get well soons from the Spaz Phoenix universe. That's terrible. I'm never doing that again. Are with Jake DeMarco. We get him back on here to talk about NXT because it's the only thing in WWE we're talking about. Moving on. Also, The Rock bought the XFL. That's a thing. Moving on. So I went into this. My fandom is behind Rhea Ripley. My admiration for character is behind Dakota Kai. My knowledge that Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai would be amazing is matched with my curiosity as to what Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai looks like. So I'm torn as a fan in the best way possible watching this match, but let's get into it. Obviously the power dynamic in this match between, gigantic, jacked up Rhea Ripley and little tiny Dakota Kai is phenomenal. Collar and elbow tie and a toss across the ring by Ripley, a side headlock by Kai, rolling lariats by Ripley, drop kick by Ripley, and a series of corner spears and chops. I can read my writing, I swear. Stalling vertical suplex by Ripley, a wheelbarrow facebuster to follow. Both women trade some punches and some shots. Rhea Ripley works on the back, because why wouldn't you when you have that much of a power advantage? Body scissor by Ripley, working the back, clothesline, working the front of the back. That didn't make sense. And an axe kick. Rhea Ripley kicks Kai out of the ring with such velocity that she goes face first into the plexiglass. That's just an awesome visual. Electric chair drop into the apron by Ripley was a nice little signature to send us into commercial break. As we come back from the commercial break, Kai misses a scissor kick and hits a pump kick instead. Seated abdominal stretch by Kai and a mule kick by Ripley. It's not quite the anything you can do, I can do better, but it is you gave me a kick, so I gave you a kick, and that doesn't have the same ring to it at all. Don't listen to me, it's fine. More lariats from Ripley, a series of knees and a snapmare, drop kick by Ripley. Rhea Ripley, being the person that's so much bigger and could just survive on a ground game, she could, like, everybody on the roster is smaller than her. She could just survive on a ground game and pounding people, but she still managed to pull off a really, really impressive looking drop kick that is even more impressive when you see how much bigger she is than all of her opponents. Electric chair drop in the ring this time, almost gets her the win. Roundhouse kick by Kai, followed by a scorpion kick. Press slam by Ripley. Riptide countered into a DDT by Dakota Kai was really nice, if not a little unrealistic. Boo by Ripley, a standing figure four. Standing figure four gets reversed into a head scissor by Dakota Kai, and that was a pretty cool spot. Haluva kick by Kai. They fight on the top rope, and Rhea Ripley sort of falls out to the apron. Dakota Kai distracts the referee, and there's an attack, and you don't see who the attack is, or at least I didn't, because I'm watching it on the shitty stream of the USA Network, because we don't have it in Canada, because NXT doesn't love us in Canada. It's fine. We did that 2 weeks ago. We don't need to do it again. Originally, I thought it was just, okay, here's the predictable Raquel Gonzalez is here backing up Dakota Kai, but it's not. It's Mercedes Martinez from the Robert Stone brand who are taking out all their former enemies, and it's kind of wonderful. Go to kick by Kai off the turnbuckle gets the win. Dakota Kai, immediately you split this off, and you look at the depth in the women's division that other people don't have, even though they're having a shitty YouTube tournament. You look at the depth of this, and you've got Shirai versus Kai for the title now, and you've got Ripley versus Mercedes Martinez going forward, which is also great. Dakota Kai fucks off, knowing that she just sort of scraped by and stole one, as they say. Post-match, there's another beatdown by Mercedes Martinez, punctuated by a air raid crash, which is nice. Mercedes Martinez comes pretty close to negating the size difference that Rhea Ripley has over most people. That'll be an interesting match. We see footage of earlier in the day, Pat McAfee showing up at Full Sail talking to Shawn Michaels in the back as they're getting ready. Shawn Michaels with the white beard is still weird. It's like Santa Shawn. We don't need to talk about it. Bronson Reed versus Shane Thorne. Bronson Reed's getting a push. I don't know if he's going to win at TakeOver. I have my qualms about that. But I like Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed's a lot of fun. Shane Thorne is somebody that they've never done anything with, and I wish they would. I still think they missed the trick not renaming him the Mighty Shane Thorne. But it is what it is, and they're going to revisit their rivalry because we need to make Bronson Reed look good going into the TakeOver. So there's a collar and elbow tie up and a right hand by Thorne 3 times, and then 1 by Reed knocks him down, which is good. Dropkick by Thorne. Suicide senton by Bronson Reed is fucking terrifying. Full Nelson Slam on the apron by Reed. Cannonball in the corner by Thorne. Shining Wizard by somebody the size of Shane Thorne is also not a way that I would want to spend a Wednesday night. Headbutt by Reed, Gorilla Press Slam, and a senton. Both men trade some strikes. There's a clothesline by Reed, a Death Valley Driver, and a Tsunami Splash, and gets the obvious win for Reed, because Reed's the one we're focusing on right now. Shane Thorne just still kind of exists in the background. I want them to do something with him. They missed a trick not calling him the Mighty Shane Thorne, but we're getting a push for Bronson Reed, and that's good. Escobar and company in the back. I don't know how to pronounce their faction's name, and I don't want to be overtly offensive. I want to be intentionally offensive if I'm being offensive. I believe it's Legado del Fantasma, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Anyways, the 3 of them beat up the 2 members of Breezango in the parking lot, solidifying the fact once again that the most dangerous place in the world is the Full Sail parking lot. We go to commercial break, and this has nothing to do with NXT, but I'm watching, like I say, on a shitty stream, on a shitty USA Network stream up here in Canada, because they don't care about NXT fans in Canada. We don't get it. We get a half-hour version that airs on Friday nights before SmackDown. That's garbage. That needs to change. So I'm still watching it on a shitty USA Network stream. And I saw an ad for a cartoon on one of their late night things. It's not cartoon stream or whatever. But the takeaway is that John Cena is voicing a cartoon orange robot. He's voicing a robot. The Rock just bought the XFL. Shane McMahon's running Fight Club. Rey Mysterio lost it. Guys, I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. It's between that and Adam Cleary from What Culture on his personal mission now to get the Shakaroni pizza over to the UK. My American friends, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I thought our commercials up here were bad. Then I started streaming NXT on the USA Network, and Jesus Christ. I'm glad I only have to watch American TV once a week. Robert Stone cuts a promo in the back that I only half heard, because I'm not going to lie, I was doing laundry while that promo was going on. But basically, Robert Stone brand isn't done with Rhea Ripley, even if Rhea Ripley thinks she's done with us. We replay Loomis beating Balor and Thatcher, which is kind of useless considering the announcement we're going to get in a minute. Then we get Priest versus Lorcan versus Ridge Holland. Who the fuck is Ridge Holland? Well, he's a big dude, and he's from the UK, so they give him that look. He's got the trench coat and I don't know what you call it, the Tilly hat, or what? It's not a Tilly hat, it's something else. And what do we say about him? He's got interesting entrance music, and he's got a stick that he never uses, even though it's a triple threat match. I don't know. All three men exchange strikes to start. This is the next qualifier for the North American Championship ladder match at TakeOver 30. It's Damian Priest versus Oney Lorcan versus the debuting Ridge Holland. And Ridge Holland's got a stick. All three men, as I say, exchange strikes to start. Corner splashes by Priest and Holland. Flatliner by Priest. Holland boots Priest out of the ring. Lorcan tosses Holland out of the ring. There's a trap suplex by Holland. This guy Holland, I'll take all my sarcasm out of it now. Some of the throws that this guy was throwing around, I haven't seen in a while. And I'm pretty sure it's part of the UK style. I know the brief period of time that NXT UK was relevant, and I was reporting it. I love the throws and I love the joint manipulation of the UK style. Series of strikes by Priest, double underhanded suplex by Holland as we go into the commercial break. It's weird because you're getting tossed and you're landing on your back, but the way he does that double underhand into the suplex, it looks like it hurts your arms more than anything else. Somebody confirm down in the box below. I'm sure somebody out there in the YouTube verse has done some sort of wrestling training. Tell me what that throw does to you. It looks like it would fuck up your arms and shoulders more than it would fuck up your back, but that's just me. Holland and Priest are trading some forearms as we come back from the commercial break. Uppercuts and chops, etc. Lorcan tackles both men. There's a double blockbuster by Lorcan. Lorcan's insane. I love Lorcan. They're never going to do anything with him. I'm terrified that they're never going to do anything with him, but they should. Just have him fight Thatcher every week. It'll be fine. Uppercuts for everybody by Lorcan. A snap jackhammer is the best way I can put it from Holland. Headbutt by Holland and gut wrench Razor's Edge. Sure. Why not? Choke bomb by Priest, and the Reckoning gets the win for Priest. Now, Priest joins Reed and Loomis at the TakeOver ladder match. We still don't have the announcement about Loomis just yet. We're getting there. It's fine. Keith Lee versus Cameron Grimes. I've been really hard on Cameron Grimes. I am still going to be hard on Cameron Grimes because he pisses me off, but if they're going to put him in matches like this where he's basically comedy fodder and he's going to get swatted away by Keith Lee or somebody else, I want to see this guy try to step up to Karrion Kross and just get myrtleated. That's right, myrtleated. Keith Lee versus Cameron Grimes, and here we go. Grimes bails instantly, and he does the whole cat and mouse thing around the thing for a little while, and then he comes into the ring and tries to pick the leg of Keith Lee. And it goes about as well as you could imagine. Shoulder tackle by Lee, boot by Grimes, another shoulder tackle by Lee, and a hard Irish whip into the ring post, and then another hard Irish whip out of the ring entirely. Low drop kick out. I can speak, I swear. Low drop kick on the outside by Grimes, and Lee eats the steps. Inside out moonsault by Grimes was nice. As much as I don't know if I give a shit about him, the moonsault was nice. It's fine. I had a really terrible thought over the course of last week. And I don't even think I put it up on social. Imagine this. AJ Styles loses the Intercontinental Championship to somebody. I don't know. He says, well, you know what? I've achieved everything I need to do on the main roster. I never got a chance to go to NXT. WWE didn't want me to go to NXT because they knew I would make everybody down there look bad, and it's the golden brand and all that sort of thing. Can you imagine AJ Styles goes down to NXT and wins the tag team championships with Cameron Grimes? I want you to think about what those promos would sound like. I just want you to think about how obnoxious those promos would sound. They'd be part of the tag community. Anyways, moving on. Terrible. Again, one of those things that I should never, ever do again. Heavy hands by Lee as we come back from the commercial break. Corner splash and a crossbody. Grimes hits a series of weird... Why? Why are we beeping? Why is this a thing? Grimes hits a weird series of fluke pin attempts. And I mean fluke pin attempts in the case of... Even if Keith Lee was dead weight, he shouldn't have been able to get him into some of the pin attempts that he did, but that's fine. Grimes hits his weird running, twisting crossbody thing on Keith Lee, which is fine. Grizzly Magnum, twice. Clothesline, 5 times. Spirit Bomb, only takes 1. There's your obvious win for Lee. It's fine. As Cameron Grimes fucks off, the lights go out, and Cross cutting a promo, doing the weird, like, right in the friggin' screen promos that he does. He says, okay, cool, I guess we're gonna do this the hard way. I haven't seen William Regal once since he signed me to this brand, you know, whatever, but you're the one that can get things done. And if we're going to do things the hard way, the bodies that are to follow are basically your fault. And then it pans out, and he sort of looks to his one side, and there's a body down on the ground that I thought was Oney Lorcan, because I'm watching on a shitty stream of the USA Network, because we don't get the show in Canada. Roddy, you guys know the drill by now. Find out later on that it wasn't Oney Lorcan, and we'll get there when we get there, but basically he's going to start taking out bodies that are friends with Keith Lee, and we just don't know about it, but that's fine. We get the announcement that Metallica is doing the TakeOver theme, which is fine, with some song called Moth into Flame. The bigger part of this for me was not the fact that they were doing the theme for TakeOver, but it was the first time that I've heard that they're doing a second S&M album, Symphony of Metallica, for those of you think S&M. Moving on. Anyways, yeah, Metallica doing a theme for TakeOver. That's the Triple H influence. I mean, if What's His Face was still alive, it would still be Motorhead, wouldn't it? Anyways, that's not a dig. It's fine. R.I.P. and all that sort of thing. I'm just saying that while they've had some more recent music for some of their takeovers, Poppy is basically the NXT house band. I popped huge a couple years ago when Lizzie Hale sang Ember Moon to the ring, because Lizzie Hale's fucking awesome. There's a reason that I use Hailstorm songs for my intros and outros and shit like that. Metallica is not in that same vein. Nothing against Metallica. Metallica's awesome. But it's not... Because they do that whole NXT Live hashtag where, you know, they're bringing out people that you might not even have heard of. Like Poppy, for example. It's a weird choice. It's definitely, you can tell when it's a Triple H choice. Then we get William Regal on Skype talking to all of us, talking about how Loomis isn't cleared to wrestle. And basically, he sort of talked himself in a circle, because he said the 4 people in the 4 qualifying matches that didn't get pinned in their triple threat matches are all going to have matches, or they're going to have 2 sets of matches, and they're going to be the last 2 in the match. Now, there's a problem with this, and this is a logic loophole that NXT has to sew up, and I'm sure they will, because there is a triple threat match announced for next week. We're going to talk about that later on, but we have 2 qualifiers already in Bronson Reed, Damian Priest. Lost my train of thought because I'm an idiot. Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, the qualifier for next week, and 2 more matches, and yeah, it's fine. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't just have the two matches and then they face each other and then they take a spot, and it's fine. I don't know. He sort of talked in weird circles around it, but basically everybody that didn't lose is getting a second chance. Sucks for Loomis. I'm sure he was going to do something cool in this match, but if I'm honest, I don't He wasn't one of the people I was looking forward to seeing in this, because we were looking forward to seeing people that haven't really been shown a lot. And I'm sorry, I'm hitching my wagon to the Bronson Reed train, which is a metaphor that doesn't even work. Bronson Reed has just come to NXT and had matches. I would love for him to get an opportunity like this. Damian Priest hasn't really been given anything, but he has featured on pay-per-views. Like, he got to go to a quote-unquote pay-per-view and face Finn Balor, which, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, Finn Balor has the main roster rub, to, so to speak, and he's had something. Next week we're going to have some other matches. We're going to get some more people in there. Unless they surprise me, unless they put somebody in this match that I'm really not thinking of, I really want Bronson Reed to win, and I don't think he's going to. They're probably going to put it on Priest, if I'm honest, but it's one of those, if they put it on Priest, that's something I've been asking for a long time, but they're giving it to me as soon as I want something else, and that's, as a fan, that's weird. Anyways, Escobar and company, Legado del Fantasma, they drag out Fandango from the back, and they start cutting a promo. They cut a promo similar to what they've been cutting the past couple of weeks about the history of Lucha Libre and how modern wrestling just uses it as a gimmick to sell t-shirts and rah. And then they talk about how Breezango come out here every week. They're like kids. They just play dress up all the time. But at Great American Bash, they mock the Lucha culture. They mock the Lucha heritage. They're about to give them a 3-on-1 beatdown. Tyler Breeze comes out to try and make the save. They make it a 2-on-1 beatdown, and then Santos Escobar references Isaiah Swerve Scott and said if Isaiah Swerve Scott doesn't take his name out of his mouth, then he's going to be next. So, leading into NXT TakeOver 30, we're clearly going to get Swerve and Breezango taking on these three. We're clearly going to get Escobar versus Swerve at TakeOver, and I will say what I always say. Please, for the love of Christ, do not put this on the pre-show. We need to show that the Cruiserweight Championship, after being saved on NXT, because it is no longer, kickoff fodder. Put some other people together. Put a number one contenders battle royal for the Cruiserweight Championship on the takeover, or on the kickoff rather, and then have the actual title match, because it's for a title, on the show. You know, the wrestling show, where they're wrestling for a wrestling title, put it on the show. Anyways, we got a video package on the Undisputed Era and what the Undisputed Era has meant to the tag team championships in the tag team division. This was really good, because a lot of it was little hashes and dashes of them fighting DIY, them fighting Mustache Mountain, because Mustache Mountain have probably fallen out of a lot of people's edges, them fighting Imperium, them fighting Grizzled Young Veterans, and all that. And it was just nice. It was just really good, because let's be fair to our friends on the other side of the aisle in AEW. While we absolutely destroy them in women's wrestling, we can't really hold a candle to what they're doing tag team wise. Now, that being said, separate thought, they are having way too many pile of people matches, and they're having a what is it, a 12 or 14 man tag on Dynamite tonight. Yeah, that's a thing. And you know what else is a thing? They're trying to make a tag team division out of their non-existent women's division. I got nothing. Pat McAfee comes out and joins what's-his-face Phillips on commentary. It's weird having him there live doing commentary, Mauro Ranallo remote from home, Renee Young remote from home, but it is what it is. But you threw Pat McAfee into this, and Pat McAfee is awesome. As a dickhead heel commentator, I want him to stay. I would love, for one pay-per-view, I don't care if it's TakeOver, I don't care if it's something else, for one pay-per-view, I want the commentary team to be just Pat McAfee and Mauro Ranallo. And I don't care if the whole TakeOver is just the two of them arguing through the matches. I think it would be really good. Tegan Nox and Indy Hartwell fought, and this is where my stream decided to tell me to go fuck myself. I caught a little bit of this here and there. I like Indy Hartwell. I wish I knew more about her, but I don't. Tegan Nox got the win with the shiniest wizard. Tegan Nox is in a weird spot too, because she's in that she hasn't feuded like been properly in a title picture, but I think she's feuded or teamed with just about everybody else that has been in a title picture. You don't want to give her. I like her. There's obviously other women in the division that I'm a bigger fan of, but I feel like she's going to get cursed with like best of the rest syndrome, and that's really sad, especially if you mix up her kayfabe story with her real life story and all the injuries and all the things she's done to get where she is. I hope she gets a run. I hope they don't make the same mistakes with her that they made with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and dump her on the main roster without ever giving her an NXT run, because that's a bit shit. She just happens to be there at the same time as, Dakota Kai's awesome heel turn, Io Shirai's rise, pun intended, Rhea Ripley. Where the hell is Toni Storm? Look at the roster we have. How do you look? I've said this again. I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off on one like I did 2 weeks ago. You could take out all the current champions. You could take out the 4 horsewomen. You could take out all the MMA-related people, the Shayna Baszlers, the Rhea Ripleys, etc. You could tell us that no legends are ever coming back. Nice to hear that Lita might come back for a spot or two next year's WrestleMania. That's another story for another day. You could get rid of all the legends. You could get rid of all the MMA folks. You could get rid of every current champion they have. You could get rid of the 4 horsewomen. And you would still have a women's division that you could beat AEW or anybody else over the head with. That's kind of scary if you consider how WWE used to handle their women's wrestling. Anyways, we just got an exposition dump after this for everything that's coming up. Next week, we've got another North American series qualifier thing. It's Cameron Grimes, Kushida, and a mystery third opponent. Ooh. Now, I like Kushida. Kushida's another one that they need to do more with. And I'm not even somebody that used to watch him in New Japan or All Japan or wherever the fuck he wrestled before here that made him an indie darling. But I like Kushida. I'd like to see him. He would be really good in a ladder match. As much as I don't like Grimes, I do want to see him get twatted with a friggin' ladder. So if he wins, I won't even mind. The third mystery person, I don't know, is somebody coming back to NXT. You know what I would love, honestly, and this is something that's definitely not going to happen. We tried it with Balor, and it's worked so far. Can you imagine next week, Cameron Grimes comes out, Kushida comes out, their mystery third opponent is the returning Sami Zayn. I don't know what his situation is. It's not going to be Sami Zayn. I don't even know why I'm saying that. But can you imagine if it was Sami Zayn? Throw Sami Zayn in there with Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and 2 other people that might be Gargano or Strong. I want it to be TakeOver right now. I'm not as excited as I want to be because I'm still dead fucking tired. I'm still working overtime. For those of you that were asking, part of why I wasn't here last week was because I was doing a lot of overtime. I'm still doing a lot of overtime, but really I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff that was happening on tonight's show. So I hope you guys know that I'm excited and I'm enjoying a lot of this stuff. I'll still pick out the details that don't make sense, unlike people that watch other shows. But if I was more awake, I'd be more excited, but the way this whole ladder match is coming together is a lot of fun. And we're going to get Keith Lee versus Cross, and now we're getting Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in this TakeOver. It's going to be TakeOver live from Full Sail, and it's going to be depressing as fuck, but we're going to make the best of it. Also, next week, after a conversation in the parking lot between the 2 people that have already qualified for the ladder match, we're going to get a match between Damian Priest and Bronson Reed. That's going to be a lot of fun. And because it wasn't actually Oney Lorcan, it was Danny Burch, we're going to get Karrion Kross versus Danny Burch next week. And they're going to kill each other. More specifically, Kross is going to kill Burch. And, just in time for him to go over to SmackDown and be a stooge for Baron Corbin. Oh my... I can't do it. I can't do it. Undisputed Era versus Imperium for the Tag Team Championships with Pat McAfee still on commentary. Nothing bad could come from this, could it? he does this whole, like, overly sarcastic, yeah, we're fine, everything's fine, you know, we made up earlier today, it's great, you know. He busted up a bunch of microphones in my studio, and he shoved my assistant. He never really apologized to me directly. He just said, you know, to whoever I offended, and all this beautifully passive-aggressive commentary when you know, looking behind the curtain, that he's, like, 10 feet away from him and he can hear everything he's saying, because the crowd wasn't loud tonight. The NXT crowd was not loud tonight, although I could swear one of the guys in the crowd had a COVID mask that was designed to look like the Hannibal Lecter mask. I laughed a lot. I really did. But the entire time he's making short jokes, he's making jokes about this and that, and, you know, I don't really blame you for having 3 other guys helping you out. Basically, all the same things that he was saying to him in that clip that went around the world. And he's being such an asshole, and he's being so condescending and so passive-aggressive, and it's absolutely fucking great. Anyways, in the midst of all this, there is a match going on. And it is Fish and O'Reilly versus Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel for the Tag Team Championships. And Fabian and O'Reilly start the match with a stiff shot exchange. Corner double team by Fish and O'Reilly. Backbreaker by Fabian. I thought they should have brought this up on commentary, because Roderick Strong was at ringside. Fabian Eichner hitting a pretty crisp backbreaker could have been a shot at the other members of the Undisputed Era. They could have played that up on commentary. They didn't. They should have. It's fine. From the backbreaker, he starts to work on the arm, because, you know, clearly a backbreaker works your arm. Arm drag by Barthel into a kneeling armbar. Series of kicks by Fish, and another double team by the Undisputed Era. Slingshot senton by Fish. Spinebuster by Fabian as we go into the commercial break. Coming back from the commercial break, there's a body scissor by Fabian and toss out of the ring by Fish. Backdrop by Fish, a hot tag to O'Reilly, and a series of strikes. When O'Reilly gets the hot tag, and I know it's been brought to my attention by a few people that I use the phrase "a series of strikes" quite a bit to describe what's going on in a match, because do you want me to say, oh, he punched him and then he kicked him and then he chopped him and then he hit him with a forearm and another forearm? And look, so it's, you know, series of punches, series of kicks, series of lariats. I know I get a bit repetitive with that, and if that bothers you, I apologize. Also, I'm not going to change, so it's fine. But when O'Reilly gets the hot tag and he comes in with his series of strikes, it's yeah. You know, I don't want to be cliche and say, oh, it almost feels real, but, like, it does make you wince a little bit, because he's a bit psychotic. I would love to see, I'm pretty sure we have at some point or other, I would love to see one-on-one Kyle O'Reilly versus Oney Lorcan, because that would be fucking insane. Leg drop off the second rope by O'Reilly, a knee drop by Fish, knee bar by O'Reilly, and a diving headbutt by Fish. Springboard moonsault by Fabian, who, you know, they always have to mention that he was in the 205 Live, he was in the Cruiserweight Classic. He's not a Cruiserweight anymore, fucking look at him. But then, finally, Adam Cole, they take the cameras completely off the match, which I didn't think was the greatest thing in the world. I know the story is happening on commentary, and this match has to exist so that commentary can happen, so that it can happen. But they totally took the cameras right off the match, and this is a championship match. And this doesn't make your tag team championship look important, but whatever. Cole and Pat finally face off. They trade some barbs back and forth, and Adam Cole's like, you know, I'm right here. Like, what the fuck? And basically walks away. Pat McAfee, like, really loudly calls him an angry elf. Cole comes back, tosses some water at him. They all get in between, and Triple H gets involved, and HBK gets involved. In the meantime, Barthel and Eichner hit the European Bomb and retain their titles, and they fuck off because they're not involved in this. And Triple H shoves Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee walks away, but then you see, as he's walking away, I don't know if this was intentionally shot this way or whether this was just a catch. As he's walking away, he's going to the door, and he smirks, and he comes back, and he says, you know what, you say whatever you want, do whatever you want, talk whatever kind of shit you want about me, you're always going to be a tiny, itty-bitty, short bitch, which was great. And I'm not sitting here creasing up and laughing because, oh, look, he's using these childhood insults and whatever, but the way this was done was, he was sort of standing at the end of the commentary booth. Cole was standing at the other end, and Cole crawling his way laterally over the table, and McAfee just gets one good shot, sort of turns into it, and boots him in such a way that he's I'm going to do this, the weird thing with my hands. If you're listening to this on audio, I'm sorry. But basically the table's here, and he's sort of crawling across, and as he gets booted, he just falls on his face on the floor in a way that almost looked like, and I overuse this as well, it was done so well that it looked like a botch, and Adam Cole face down on the I don't know whether it's concrete or tile or whatever, just out. And Triple H is losing his shit, and everybody's losing their shit, and Pat McAfee walking out the door, just sort of saying off the cuff, real professional environment, real professional environment you guys got here. That's fucking brilliant. I love this. I am so morbidly amused by this whole Pat McAfee and Adam Cole thing. If Pat, at this point, and I know this goes against like the vibe of NXT, because NXT is where the real wrestling happens. It's not that silly main roster stuff where we're poking out eyeballs and fighting in swamps and shit. I am so on board for this because Pat McAfee at this point is an NXT character. He is an NXT character. It would be like, I don't know Nigel McGuinness's health situation. I don't know why he's not wrestling anymore. I'm sure there's a reason. It would be like Nigel McGuinness getting up from commentary because he was pissed off at somebody and having one more match. You know, that old cliche. Because he is an existing NXT character. Pat McAfee, and the way he delivers himself and the way he is on the pre-shows, the way he's got this weird, like, sort of nervous, hyper energy about him for a dude as big as he is. The guy that got in trouble for wearing shorts to WrestleMania or some other bullshit like that. He's not just a guy doing a guest spot that showed up for one night. He is somebody that exists in the NXT consciousness. So as much as I know why other people will hate it, I hope we're getting Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole at TakeOver 30. Just, in a lot of ways, the world is still weird right now, so in a lot of ways, I'm looking at a lot of things as like, why not at this point? But you've got so much other on that show that's going to be so good. I don't know what they're doing with the tag titles, if they're even doing anything at all, but we're probably getting Escobar versus Swerve. We're probably getting Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai. We're definitely getting Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. We've got all these really, very NXT matches. If they want to step outside the realm, Adam Cole's not fighting for a title. We're going to have that ladder match, which is very NXT. I like that because that title, that North American Championship, was initially decided in a ladder match. People forget that. And it was Adam Cole. Now, if all that title shit is happening, I've always said the layout of a takeover is, you get your title matches in there and you get one or two extra matches. If your extra match is Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole, or Pat McAfee and a couple of people versus the Undisputed Era, I'm ridiculously and unpredictably on board for that because I am so morbidly curious as to what that's actually going to look like. I'm so morbidly curious to the fact that somebody like Pat McAfee, the whole possibility that exists out there in headcanon, that all the whole time that he's been an NXT character, secretly he's been training to be a wrestler as well. I would love that. I would love that so much. As I said before, I wish I was more awake so that I could be more legitimately excited about what we're getting in NXT right now. And I really, really hope that that curve that NXT's been on recently will continue, because NXT deserves it. This is all my sarcasm aside, all of it, all of my cheap digs at AEW aside. I am not saying this as a direct dig to AEW, but I hope NXT's numbers start going up. Whether or not they beat AEW, I hope the numbers start going up, because in my personal opinion, the show deserves it. That's it. And we're getting real damn close to NXT, the combination of NXT and AEW beating Raw and beating SmackDown, and that is bigger. That is, as much as I take the piss out of AEW, and I do, because there's a lot of things that they do that I disagree with, but I still come up here, I still talk about the pay-per-views. Guapo and I are definitely going to be up here at some point talking about All Out, so that's fine. I'm more interested at this point in NXT and AEW beating Raw and SmackDown, and I know that's a fictional victory, but I still want it. I still want it because it's still good. It'll be interesting the next couple of weeks, because I believe the next 3 weeks AEW Dynamite isn't on the Wednesday. So what I will say to my team, the NXT team, the black and gold brand, this is their shot. If there's ever been an opportunity to jack up the viewership, jack up the attention, the excitement around the NXT brand, do it in the next 3 weeks where you've got no competition, where you've got no other excuses to hold it back, and just keep doing like unspectacular but very functional, very, very logical, very fun stuff. And throw in a little Robert Stone brand somewhere in the mix, give people a laugh, get Shotzi out there with their tank, and then give us a main event like Lee versus Cross. And then have Adam Cole kick the shit out of Pat McAfee. I don't know. I'm rambling because I'm very, very tired. If you guys are still listening at this point, I thank you. As I say, go check out some of my social medias that I don't talk about nearly enough. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, find the Spaz Phoenix podcast Facebook group. Please do pay attention to those socials. I will let you guys know when the FlixFix stuff is coming. I do hope to get more people back on. Like I say, when Jake's better, hope to get him back on. Hope to get Connor back on at some point, even though he's not really doing wrestling stuff right now. It is what it is. The world is still really, really weird. I hope you guys are doing okay in the midst of all this crazy bullshit that's going on. And I've rambled way too long at this point. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye.
You're a freak